Business over drinks. Business over drinks. This is Dave and Tom. This is business over drinks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Over Drinks. My name is Teng and I'm calling from Singapore.
Hello everybody. My name is David, calling in from Brisbane, Australia. How's everyone doing today? We have a really good guest coming up, very exciting guest, very excited. But before we bring him on, well, he's actually is on. But anyway, before we start talking to him, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, chat to us, send us an email, even say hello. We're very lonely on all social media platforms. Just search for Business Over Drinks. You'll find us. All right. The best way for us to bring great guests on like Darryl. So anyway, back to the podcast. We'd like to welcome.
This is Dave's sad introduction as he does often and on. Dave, why don't you introduce Darryl a little bit, man, so he can actually say something.
Yeah. So now a fantastic guest, Darryl Lim. So Darryl Lim is a performer, deviser, playwright, and researcher. In 2016, he founded Flip Theatre, a Singapore theatrical production house that focuses on developing stories from the personal experiences of its actors with an emphasis on creating original, process-driven, and ensemble-focused works. Darryl is now a trained Neuro Linguistic Programming genius, certified trainer, master practitioner and coach, and a certified coach trained by the Collective Change Institute and accredited by the International Coaching Federation. He has obtained a Master of Arts in Theatre Studies Research. Darryl's research interests stem from the training of renowned theatre director Jerzy Grotowski, and he seeks to facilitate the actors' work on their selves. Each individual in his team becomes a fuller and more complete human being. That is very deep. He's a very accomplished guy. So we're very excited to have you here, Darryl.
And insanely jealous. So yeah, we can do it.
Nice.
That's more qualifications than Dave and I have combined, plus all the stuff we light up on and we put on a resume as well. So that's awesome.
Oh, do I have to say something now?
Oh no, man! Sorry, we left you. We left you a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, we left you a little bit in the lurch there. And apologies. So everybody, give a big round of applause to Darryl. There's no one here, so it's just going to be Dave and me.
Okay. Before we start, though, before Darryl speaks, what's everyone drinking?
I'll start, man. I'm drinking a Blue Moon Belgian White. This is, I found this in the fridge. It's a really good, interesting beer that I don't see often in Singapore. Not a massive beer person, as everyone knows, but no, it's not bad. Pretty good. Dave, what about you?
I'm drinking a Foxtails Negroni from Foxtails & Co. And apparently it contains 3 Foxes gin, 3 Foxes bitter orange, liqueur, and vermouth. It's 18% alcohol. So can't wait to try it. I haven't tried it yet. So we'll see.
Oh, nice. Darryl, what about you? What are you drinking? This is the first thing you're going to talk about is what you're drinking.
Yes, nice. This is my 1.5 liters bottle of oolong tea from Singapore. So it's 0% sugar, so I don't have to put on any kind of additional calories onto my body when I drink this. Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, it's 1.5 liters.
So Darryl's gonna drink the entire 1.5 liters during this podcast. So we're gonna see how long this is gonna last before we take a break.
Oh no.
Well, we're gonna have drink breaks halfway through, Darryl, so we're gonna force you to drink. But that's usually what we do on a podcast. No, but hey, man, thanks for coming down. I think it's gonna be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to understanding a little bit more about Singapore's theatre scene. So I live in Singapore, as you might have heard, and what people know, our listeners know. So I'm a big fan of theatre, and I do watch a bit of local theatre too. So I'm pretty excited to hear what you got coming up, a little bit more about the theatre scene here, and also kind of get a good sense of what you're doing as a former educator and stuff like that. So why don't we kick it off and like give Darryl a chance to shine.
And also the business side of running a theatre. I mean, that's I wouldn't start a theatre. I mean, it just seems like a lot of work. Everything seems like a lot of work to me anyway. So
yeah, David, everything's a lot of work to you.
So Darryl, why did you start Split Theatre?
Wow. Okay. I think the whole idea came about when, like, the word split, it's about dividing, it's about like broken up and all of that. So it's a very cliche kind of starting point when in 2016 I went through quite a number of fallouts, breakup, etc. And I realized that through splits, through breaking, and through kind of brokenness, there is a kind of possibility where a new voice comes out, and all of that. So I think I've just like, yeah, in that sense, when I decided to bring split theater into like into this world, in that sense, it was me trying to find a voice out of certain kind of brokenness and all of that. And that's why I started split theater. Then after a while, it went on to it moved further into a kind of like because you know, when you find your voice and all of that through brokenness, there's a tendency to turn inward because you start to dwell into things and all of that, and that we started to I started to think about how we can do art, we can speak up, we can use our voice in a way that relates to other people. And that's when the motto "You Matter" like came up. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting, man. I wish we had a great story like that about how we started business for drinks, but we were just drunk. So I think
Well,
I
we
think
can say that's a sign of brokenness, right?
yeah. I mean,
Dependency on
business over drinks is a sign of brokenness. All right, man. Yeah, it's a sign of, I mean, who we were as people as well, just drinking
and broken.
yeah, and stuff like that. So I think we resonate at least a little bit, Darryl. It's not a clear cut connection, but I think we see where you're coming from in that one. I mean, so it's been a while now. I think you started it in 2016, right? It's been I think it's going to become 6 years soon. So like maybe give us kind of a picture that we can see. Like what's the difference between 2016 split theater and what you're seeing right now?
Nice. Okay, because yeah, so how we transited from the whole idea of like, because it started off with like brokenness and started off with me trying to just say what I wanted to say. So I realized at the start it became very self-indulgent, and I became I just wanted to use theater to do what I wanted to do, or to say whatever I wanted to say that I couldn't put into words as an individual in society. So in that sense, yeah, that was how it was like at the start. But after a while, when we started to have more and more people coming on board with split theater, I realized that maybe there's this, and it's really cool, because when I read it is because of the people around me in theater that made the space so safe, that gave me the courage to continue talking, to continue creating. Then I realized that it's not about just your own voice, it's about your own in relation to others. Yeah, your own voice in relation to others. And in that sense, how You Matter came about. That's how I realized that, if it weren't for the people around me at that point in time who supported that voice, this wouldn't have come to fruition. It wouldn't have developed into what is today. So in that sense, You Matter came about in 2019. 2019, when we've decided to, let's not do scripted work anymore. Okay, let's not do scripted work. Let's devise from the stories of our actors and let the actors all create their own places in society. Let the actors and let every one of us create our own voice and craft our own voice. So that is what it is today, where each person gets to use your own story to tell what you want to say, or to say what you want to say on stage in the rehearsal room. And that's what split theater is today.
Yeah, I'd love to ask more questions about what people actually do on stage. But before that, the very first days, I'll get the vision of like like the low point in a movie where the main actor gets heartbroken and he's slumped in it, and then suddenly he comes to an epiphany that I should start something. You started your thing was pretty ambitious, starting your theater, right? What were the first steps in? Do you just go, I'm going to start a theater, I'm going to call up some hall and just walk in there and just yell and get people? Like, how did you even start that?
That's an interesting thing, because a lot of times in life in general, like many of us think that change per se, we have to do very big things to create change. But I realized that for split theater, what mattered at the start was the whole idea that, okay, I wanted to do something. I just wanted to say something. So I went online, went to a few people, like, and ask them through the Facebook Messenger, like, hey, do you want to come? Do you want to perform for me? Do you want to do you want to try something?
I ask Tony that all the time. He just seems on there.
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, it's like just asking, and then everyone somehow agreed at that point in time. Obviously, some said no, but the cool thing about that time was that, yeah, people just agreed, and then they just said yes, and then we started. Yeah. So it was a very, I wouldn't say frivolous, but I would say it's a very small decision that soon grew because each of us decided that this is what we wanted to do. Yeah.
Man, how do you stop this from becoming like, because you're dealing with people, and so there are egos, there's a lot of different people, you're giving them free rein to kind of like show themselves and their personalities, right? How do you stop it from becoming like basically like a personal showcase for who they are, who they want to be, and what they want to do? I mean, basically, how the hell do you curate the heck out of the I don't want to say rubbish, but the bad stuff coming through, right? There's more self-indulgent stuff coming through.
Actually, this is we face this a lot of time, because like we face this quite often when people, in that sense, when we are given a space to just say whatever we want to do and to do whatever we want to do, then we start to become self-indulgent, or what you say. Actually, Grotowski, which is something we'll talk about in a bit, something that I've studied, talks about it as well. So he kind of differentiates the actor or the performer or the artist who gives totally, and the artist who gives and exhibits himself. So there's a person who acts and the person who gives. So that's a very fine line when we talk about actor training in split theater, where, okay, are we giving our story in hope of an exchange, or are we giving our story because we want to give ourselves to this world as who we are? So that's a question.
So which one is better, or is that an open-ended question?
I guess if we talk about being self-indulgent and that's what we do not want to be, then the whole idea of giving in hope, exchanging, or in hope of getting something in return might be something that we don't want. But at the same time, it is a journey that we are focusing on in split theater. It's a journey where all of us, including myself, we slowly start to learn how to do that. Because if you think about it, the whole idea of giving without expecting anything in return, including the memory of giving, because if I say I want to give you a present, and then I start to think about I gave David a present that day, and I feel so good about it. That's a kind of exchange. So how, in that sense, how do we approach that state where we're able to give without expecting anything in return? I think it's an ideal.
Yeah, it's bordering on the spiritual. It is a spiritual.
And to be fair, Dave would never be able to work with you guys or be in your theater because he only likes to take. Dave's very much a taker. He's not a good
Just look, he's talking. I was just calling Tony Diva the other day because that's all he does. He receives. He's really good at it. But
we're about to have a fight later. All right.
you'll receive the punches. But yeah, but just in case, and to help the audiences know, how does it even work? So if it's unscripted theater, do you just give people a brief? How will it work if someone wants to participate?
Okay, so in terms of devising, the process varies person to person. In that sense, because this is a very individualized thing. But the whole let me give you for the sake of an example, let me give you a possibility. For instance, we could look at Romeo and Juliet and all that story, and then I would ask either of you here to tell me what Romeo means to you. So do you want to
that's Dave's dream guy.
Leo DiCaprio.
Okay. Okay. What about him?
Dave's dream guy.
He's a dream guy. He's a cool man. I actually idolize him as an actor. But Romeo and Juliet, I just keep remembering the movie with him in it, and then I think it was it Bartholomew? Who's the guy kept saying, "Do you bite your thumb at me?" So I keep remembering that memory of that line of his friend saying it to him.
Nice. And what does this remind you of in your personal life?
Leonardo.
I've got a really good one for that.
It reminds me of Leo. Is this weird? But this reminds me of Leo DiCaprio. Like he's just an amazing actor. Followed him for a long time.
No, it's a bit weird how fascinated you are with the actor, man. Like it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah. Okay. Is this a therapy session? But yeah, keep going.
So probably I wouldn't put you on the spot now, but in some sense, I'm also interested in that fascination that you have at this point in time, and then probably in the process we would talk about why that fascination is so important for you, and through that we could devise a scene, or possibly you talking to the actor.
Leo DiCaprio. Why don't you love me? Why don't you love me, Leo?
Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, in that sense, it becomes a very personal thing if you think about it. Talking about your fascination, talking about your and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that sense, it becomes a very personal touch. Although, as we can see, it's quite encoded because the audience doesn't have to know how we got there. We just give them the kind of final product and all that. So in that sense, it's safe for the actor as well, because whatever that is shown on stage finally is quite encoded, and what the audience gets from that is based on what the audience wants to get as well. Yeah.
Well, that's quite interesting, because I think what you're looking at is you require participation from the people who are there as well, but it's also how willing you are to give yourself, right, to whatever you're doing, even in the sense of being able to kind of like resonate or engage people who don't know you've never seen you before, but then they're coming to see you then. I mean, so that's fascinating. And I don't mean to digress, but I think what we really want to understand, at least from your experience with Split, right, is like, what's your ultimate goal and mission for your journey with Split? What are you trying to, like, if everything ended like at some point, right? So everything ends, right? So at some point, everything. What would you want to say that this is what you achieved and this is what you've done?
Wow. Okay. I think I've been thinking about it for quite some time. Even at the start, the starting point for me was, okay, Split Theatre is going to be a refuge, a place of refuge for anyone just to be around and just to connect, point of an anchor of connection of sorts. And then we moved forward and we started to move more into the meta philosophy. I started thinking about how anyone who arrive at Split Theatre would be prompted in that sense to start creating your own place in society. Anyone who like enters split theater, our hope is that, or anyone who hears of split theater, our hope is that you would begin to think about how you can create your own rules in life. You can create your own play in society. You can craft what you want to do in society and what you want to become in relation to people, of course. And yeah, I think I had a chat with one of our facilitators recently, and then because this is a journey, especially in Singapore per se, there are many rules that we are taught to follow in society, in school since young, and then when we are suddenly told to craft our own answers in life and to craft our own places in life, it's quite an impossibility for some of us. It's like, okay, what's the guideline? Where do I start? And all of that. But sometimes it's all about planting that seed, giving someone a glimpse of the possibility of crafting your own place and creating your own. So it becomes like everyone is journeying towards a kind of checkpoint and interchange. We may not reach there. You may not reach there by the end of your encounter with split theater, but our hope is that you will eventually reach there, and then you would start to take your own train or on your own journey towards your own place in society. So in that sense, it's a very idealized dream, but I think it's possible. Yeah, just planting the seed.
The way you talk about it, I kind of want to sign up. When I go to Singapore, I'll be there. But as for now,
don't do it, Dave. Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Are you pushing me?
Don't do it, man.
Really supporting our guests. Oh, are you trying to protect him?
Yeah, no, this is for him. This is not for you. Don't do it, man.
Well, with the concept of you matter, and it sounds like a neverland for people where you can express yourself and sounds like a release. Your inner self and whatnot. Could you say it's a form of therapy for anyone who participates?
I wouldn't say it's a therapy per se, more like a self-development program. It's a work on the self where it's based very much on actor training, very much on actor training from the start, Stanislavski's time and all of that. And because the word therapy has quite a number of connotations, and I wouldn't say that we are therapists over here. We are not trained in that field. However, at the same time, what we are looking at is for people to have a change of mindset, have a change of belief, and all of that. And that's something that we can do in theater, because theater is ultimately, I'm borrowing from Grotowski, ultimately just an encounter between two people. Yeah, theater is about people connecting. Theater is about me telling my story to you, and you listening, and you telling your story to me at the same time. So I think in and of itself, class is a form of theater as well, if you think about it. Yeah. And the cool thing about this form of theater, especially, actually this podcast is a really good example, because we are not performing in any sense. I'm not trying to be someone different. I'm not taking on a character, neither are both of you. And we are just having a conversation, trying to learn from each other and trying to just be who we are, crafting our places in this microcosm of society. Yeah.
But you could also say it is a deliberate form of being ourselves, because it is still staged in a way. We know we have an audience. There are things we can't say or wear. So
yeah, it's heavily staged.
That's why you say that's the cool thing, because like what you said, the podcast, ultimately it's heavily staged and all of that. Even I would say my performances, like Don't Cancel Me Can, and whatever performances that Split Theater has put up, it's a move and approach towards being honest, though at the same time, because it's curated, because at that point in time there is a frame through which actors perform. Yeah, there can be it is definitely in some sense mark. So our main purpose or our main work is moving towards absolute honesty as people, as human beings. I wouldn't even say people, human beings being human beings before any kind of social cultural divides like gender, race, and all of that. How can you see the human being behind the other person? That's the absolute honesty that we are trying to move towards and moving towards, not reaching, because like what you said, I don't think anything in this society can be fully honest. Even when I meet you outside for coffee and all that, it might be curated because we think about what we want to say and all that, because
especially
of
when the law is involved, right? You know
yeah.
if we were fully ourselves with no restrictions, I'd like to see what will happen. You'll probably all end up reverting back to the law again, enforcement, but for a while it'd be chaos, right?
It'll be anarchy, man. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to be, but then I understand that that's not normal. So I was like, okay, good. I'm like, I think I'll thrive in anarchy where everything's kind of falling apart. I'm like, I don't need to worry about my schedule today. The world's on fire, so I'll be okay. So like, I'll wake
You'll
up.
be running for your life.
No, man, I'll be holed up in like a defensible position, all the stuff. I'm good. I'll survive.
When you say thriving in anarchy, what do you mean?
Oh no, it's like there's this thing, right? So when people say you're preparing for the apocalypse, you think what you want to do. People have nightmares about waking up and then there's like, an invasion, a zombie apocalypse, whatever it is, right? I don't have nightmares. I dream about it and I'm like, all right, I can see myself doing all right. Because I think in the sense of it drives you back to the basic instincts of who you are. And it kind of takes away the complexities of having to deal with, workplace complexity, right? Dealing with the egos, is more complicated than just hunting, gathering, protecting yourself, because it's all instinctual. It's very clear. It's a very clear goal. That people act logically because you have to. Now that since everything's safe, there's no danger, people don't act logically. What they do is they create other factors that shouldn't make sense in a natural world, but it does exist in a corporate environment or in a business environment. Dave, we're gonna cut this out because it's making me sound like I'm a crazy person who lives in a cabin. So we're gonna cut all this stuff out, man.
But it's funny though, because when Turk visited me in Australia, I think it was a spider or something rushed by and he went, ah! You squealed. You're bragging about how you'll survive.
No, man, dude, Australian spiders are all crazy, dude. Every spider in Australia is like poisonous. Every spider in Australia is poisonous.
But like, that scream in and of itself is a kind of reveals who you are truly inside, right?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Someone who understands danger and reacts accordingly. Okay. Versus, I'm sorry, I didn't say that I was not going to be unafraid. I said that it would be more straightforward. I never said anything about being super brave. I'm not. When the attackers come, I'm hiding in the closet and pushing other people in front of me. I know that. So that's not even, I'm not even worried about that part. Right? I'm dishing everybody. I'm finding loved ones, friends, and just like, I hit them in the leg while I run away so that they're slower than me. Let them get caught first, right? So we're doing all these things. What I'm saying is easy. It's logical. You live and you survive. Dave, man, I'm gonna thanks for sharing that story, Dave.
Hey everyone, we have a really important announcement. The world is ending. The zombies are going to take over. The vaccine that you've all heard about is actually a killer zombie vaccine. And if you've seen iRobot, if you've seen World War Z, whatever it's called, it's going to happen. But in all seriousness,
QAnon. Oh, sorry, Gary.
QAnon.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I'm stuttering. But anyway, in all seriousness, though, Liquor Loot. So Liquor Loot is an amazing company. So we're really happy to have them on board. They house alcohol subscription services, Whiskey Loot and Gin Loot. And they deliver 3 premium and hand-selected whiskey and gin tasters from around the world each month.
So guys, this isn't just your standard, hey, subscription business model where you just get three tasters and that's it. They're actually a platform for you to discover new gins and whiskeys, which is what I just did with my classic dry. It's really cool. The twist of lemon in there, and I've been drinking pretty much since 1 p.m.
Yeah, it's 100% true, and drink responsibly. But anyway,
right. So, so like
zombie virus.
we wouldn't be a podcast without listeners, and we wouldn't have sponsors without listeners. So our listeners get a special offer on whiskey from Whiskey Loot. So just head over to our website, businessoverdrinks.com, and head over to our sponsorship page or even our show notes page where we'll actually put a link to Liquor Loot. Just click on that link and then check it out. You'll be able a chance to get a taste of a curated selection of hard to find scotches, single malts, and new world whiskeys, including Japanese and American ones. They're all award winning. Most of them are award winning actually, so it's kind of cool. I prefer the Japanese ones personally because I think they do better whiskey than the Americans. So here we go. Head over to businessoverdrinks.com, click on our sponsorship section, and look out for Liquor Loot.
And remember, everyone, drink responsibly, don't be like Tong, and do not sue us at whatsoever.
Yeah, please don't sue us.
Be responsible.
Also,
Liquor
Loot. Liquor Loot.
Liquor
Liquor
Loot.
Loot.
Liquor
Liquor
Loot.
Loot. All right, that's gonna be stuck in your head for the rest of the day, guys. Listen. All right. Man, Dave, I completely forgot where we were because you took us down a path, man. Thank you.
I think
it's my question now. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit because I think there's I just want to talk to you about marketing your theater. Like, how do you actually grow your theater in the sense of getting more people to come in, getting more national attention, how do you build visibility and interest and community around your theater, right? How do you market it? It's something I'm very interested in. I ask a lot of businesses and a lot of people that because it's so different. You can't do it one way. You have to do different things with different companies in different industries.
I think it's a very this question means quite a lot to the work per se as well, because ultimately we are talking about real personal stories in here, and we are talking about the one-to-one connections that we are, because every person is different. And we're talking about you matter, you not being a universal you, but a very personal you matter. So in that sense, the normal way of marketing split theater wouldn't be a very good mode, very good kind of image that we want to give to people, because if you ask me to kind of say, oh, the split theater is about telling stories, it's not really about that. It's about that one-to-one connection that we are trying to achieve. So in that sense, a lot of theater companies or theater groups who does the kind of work, right, has transmission in mind when it comes to telling people about this. So it's kind of a word of mouth thing per se, rather than okay, I'm going to put it on social media. Of course, we have our social media pages and all of that, but honestly, I don't think anyone who enters or who goes onto our website or our social media pages would really get the full idea about what split is all about, because it is what happens in the rehearsal room. It is what happens when we go out for drinks one-on-one. It is what happens when we're actors or when practitioners go out in split theater, go out on drinks one-on-one or go out for food one-on-one. So in that sense, it's transmission. That's why we came up with this program, the Work on Yourself program, where we try to bring the work to a small group of people each cycle, and then get people involved in know what the work is about. The whole idea that theater is not about having a group of performers telling stories to a group of audience. It is about one performer, one human being to another human being. And that's that's probably one of the challenges when it comes to, okay, if you think about it, economically, in that sense, when I were to do one-on-one kind of thing, it will grow really slowly. And then what else, what to do, and all of that. So transmission is quite a big thing that we are trying to just bring up in our space. Is this so probably the question would be like, okay, there's one-on-one kind of connection that you have with people around you in the space. Do you think it is worth telling people about it? And if you think it's worth, then maybe one of our participants would go forward and tell a friend, and then maybe two friends would then come to know about it, and then probably the cycle of next cycle of the program, the two friends would come along, and then the two friends would bring more people on board. And at the same time, it is okay. I think it's starting to sound like a kind of like
MLM.
Yeah, MLM, which is really not, because ultimately when people come together, the whole aim is not to form a community that stays together. The whole aim is to plant that seed, and then to say that, hey, you can create your own place in society. Just know that, and then go and do your stuff, go and do whatever that you want to do, and then become greater people, become and then tell other people as well that they can do that, they can do the same. And then that in and of itself is a kind of coming back to the ideal. That's the kind of ideal that we are striving towards. So marketing per se, I know I'm not talking about the money per se, because wow, if I were to really count and really talk about profits and all of that, then the relationships might be hidden underneath all of that. So I don't know how exactly it's done, but we have been doing it in that sense that through relationships, through kind of just connections and all of that, by making this place an anchor of connection, somehow we get the support, somehow we get the whole get people who continue to come, and that in and of itself becomes a kind of like resource for us.
So you've got the base level social media, website stuff, but typically the product is selling itself. So it's an experience, and people really get involved, and they tell their friends to get more people involved.
Yeah, so Darryl has started MLM
multi-level marketing,
theater marketing
scheme
program. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I appreciate it. So like, let's put a chart together, right? And we just show how it starts. So one person brings in 3 friends, that other person brings in 3 friends, and then you just create this little pyramid. But it's okay.
It's a triangle. So it's different.
It's a pyramid shaped triangle. Right.
So imagine that pyramid being flattened. Then, because when people come into the space, I don't get profits and all of that. It's flattened, and I personally trust the team a lot. So when someone brings their friends and all of that, it is their way of reaching out to that person to explain how it is like to create their own place in society, and then that person gets whatever that person wants to get from it. And I wouldn't go there and like, oh, are you telling the story right? Are you giving a proper representation of what split theater is all about? That's not for me to interfere, because by interfering, it doesn't, the one-to-one connection is no longer there. There's no authenticity there. So it's about that MLM flattened.
No, it makes sense, man, because I think especially with theater, right, your product is essentially connection to the people as well, especially in Split, right? It's connection to the people. So you're selling something that is very difficult to it's not difficult, but it's more like it's not something that is super tangible in the sense of like, buying a phone or buying a table or buying a chair, right? I'm sorry, I just named everything that was in front of me: table, chair, and phone. But it's more of people are buying into the concept of a connection. They're buying the concepts, they're buying the feelings, they're buying the emotion.
And it is, and then the fact the talk of money kind of taints that relationships. It's more about the experience. But speaking of marketing, let's dive into the business side of running and operating a theater, especially in a place like Singapore. From a financial perspective, you hinted about it earlier. What challenges do you face surviving? And does it have to be a profitable enterprise, or is it more of like a non-for-profit?
Wow. It's a good question, something that I've been thinking about, and I've been thinking about all these years, because if I really, because in Singapore, it's like, how do I go past the fact that we need money? So in that sense, I personally would, I definitely look at the budget. I definitely look at like what is required in terms of resources, and we kind of play the game. The market game is kind of like, oh, I price things in a way that would give us a certain give us possibilities of moving forward, of sustaining our practice, of making sure that grants come in, and making sure we make sure that grants come in to make to ensure that the work continues. And if you say, oh, is this going to become like something that creates a lot of cash? No. But at the same time, being able to sustain us as people, being able to sustain us as a company, as a society, as a company, being able to sustain the facilitators and respect their work per se, and respect their time, that's possible if we do the proper calculation and all of that. I wouldn't recommend that for people who are going into who believe work is separate from their personal lives, because for me, this work is my place in society. Yeah, this work is my personal life. It's kind of enmeshed. So in that sense, and for many of our people within Split Theatre, within Split Theatre, we kind of look at the work as something that is together with our lives and all of that. And the whole idea of connecting the concepts that we are looking at in Split Theatre, where we relate to people as human beings and all of that, that spills out of the rehearsal space, that spills out into our lives as well. So if, let's say, we someone is looking at art or theatre as something that is a bit more of a work per se as compared to life, then this might be a different mode altogether, because what we are doing in Split Theatre is really something that crosses very, very and collides, and it's something, it's almost a wholeheartedness that we are looking at when it comes to the work, where giving who you are, not giving up, giving who you are without an expectation of any exchange. You see, even this concept in and of itself kind of disrupts what the economy is about.
You said your show is coming up, right? The Don't Cancel Me Can show, yeah? It's coming up pretty soon. I think it's coming up in December, so hopefully we'll have this podcast up in time. Otherwise, it's a completely waste of your time, and it would have zero value to you whatsoever, so I apologize.
It's the conversation in and of itself is of value.
Oh, Darryl's saying that because he knows we're recording. The more he's off, he's like, what the hell? his PR team's going to get a message like, what the fuck, guys? So No, no worries. It's not, but like, man, tell us more about the show, man. Because I kind of want to hear more about it as well. Because you shared a lot about the ethos behind the theater, right? But like, tell us what this show is going to be like.
Oh wow. So this show is about the different kinds of cancers that we look at in society. So it is inspired from my personal story with cancer per se. So in that
You
sense,
had lymphoma, yeah?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So in a sense, that brush with lymphoma got me thinking quite a bit about what it truly means to me. It is a story that I had to tell quite a bit because when you go for treatment and all of that, you have to go every single day. And then I chose to take the grab every time I exited the center. So it's because it's quite fun. Every single day the driver would say, "Oh, why are you here?" And then and then it's about telling the story again and again and again and after a while, through telling the story again and again, it kind of made me own that story as something that I grew to accept as part of who I am. So talking about acceptance, a big thing in Don't Cancel Me Can, because sometimes when we look at a part of ourselves, we start to grow and develop, we might look at a part of ourselves that we don't really like. We might discover something about ourselves that we hate. But if we look at that thing and then we decide to try to, we hate it and we don't want to accept it, we start to become very conflicted as a person. And possibly the kind of road towards that conflicted person to accepting that growth within you, growth in a very positive sense, which is self-development growth, and growth in a negative sense, which is the tumor kind of growth. If you're able to accept growth, if you're able to accept things that are not very nice about yourself, then that is a kind of step forward as a person. So talking about cancers in society as well, as we enlarge the picture for Don't Cancel Me Can, there are people that we want to, cancel in society and all of that. People that we don't really like. The cancerous kind of people. But at the same time, when we do that, we become divided as a society as compared to look at the cancers in society and looking at them with a kind of understanding that they are a part of who we are as a society. And through moving from a conflicted society to acceptance, possibly there's a form of healing that can take place through, So if long story short, Don't Cancel is from conflict to acceptance. Looking at a part of yourself or looking at a part of society that you don't like to understanding that it is part of you.
So this show was partially about Dave then just being a terrible part of society.
So Don't Cancel Me Can, we will put links to it on the show notes.
Yeah, the production will run from the 18th to 21st December at the Arts House, 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., right? On 18th and 19th, and 8 p.m. shows the 20th and 21st.
Yeah, so, but so going back to Don't Cancel, the whole concept of Don't Cancel Me Can, and your own experience with lymphoma.
Yeah.
Did you overcome, congrats by the way on beating it, did it change your outlook on your life at all and how you live now and how you're approaching your work?
Yeah, definitely. In that sense, the whole move from conflict to acceptance is something that I grew to really understand and really embody through the brush. In that sense, there was a period of time when I looked into the mirror every morning to see that growth, with that growth right here, which is not here anymore. And then I would be quite unhappy about it. And then there was even a period of time when I hit it, for no reason. So, and I grew to realize at that point of time that, hey, I'm actually just hitting myself. Like, like the cells in and of itself, they are my cells. But at the same time, there's probably mutation and all of that, but they are part of me. And when I grew to kind of accept that that is a part of me, things start to change. So I wonder also, like, what this can mean for many of us in society when we look at a part of ourselves that, we don't really like. When we grow to accept that part of ourselves that we don't really like, what can change? Yeah.
That's a really interesting way of looking at stuff, man. Because I think your brush with mortality kind of like makes you stop and think a little bit, right? At least I've never had that experience. So I it's very difficult for me to judge or to sorry, not judge, but to identify. But it's more of a thing. I think a lot of people, when they face mortality, they come to realize that there are things that are more important than what we consider to be important right now. And I think that's really important. That's a good lesson for people to understand as well. Kind of like take a step back and really think about what you're going through and what your life is all about, and maybe readjust your goals, right?
Yeah, and you've had a positive reaction to it, so you're going to accept it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Robert Greene say something about getting used to being lonely, rather than not accepting the loneliness in life, but really accepting it and flourishing from it, which seems to be something that a reaction you've done.
Yeah.
Did you read any really interesting books or anything during your period? Like what like how did you? A self-reflection is one, but I think a lot of people also look outwards, right? Was there anything interesting or like any good books that you kind of read, or like any sort of resources that you looked at that was super valuable or super useful to you?
Wow. If it's related to that per se, I didn't really read on that. But if you were to ask me in general, like of books that I've like come across that shaped who I am.
Oh yeah, yes please. Yeah. Share that.
I think one great book that I grew to really love and really approach, because I wouldn't say I am there yet, is the Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek.
Okay, Leaders Eat Last. Okay.
So it's something like the idea that's why when you talked about MLM, I was a bit like, no, because because
thanks for sharing with you. Yeah, we get that experience quite a lot with I guess like, no, that's not true.
No, in some sense it becomes okay, so I'm the artistic director of Split Theatre, but at the same time I'm not on top at all. In fact, we are all on the same level, and that's something that is really important to understand as leaders per se, or all of that. And one book that complements it for me was Martin Buber's I and Thou. It's very, very it's a philosophy where
Martin Buber. How do you spell his surname, sorry?
Martin Buber, so Buber.
Okay.
Yeah, so he talks about the two kinds of relations that we have in this world: I-it relations versus I-thou relations. Where I-it is when I look at Dave and I see
Handsome.
person. I see
terrible human being.
a male. I see someone wearing a black t-shirt. I see
meals strong.
I basically look at you and assume an attribute. So those are all assumptions. So assume an attribute.
Small hands, yep.
Yeah. So when I look at someone I and thou though, I just got it. So I when you look at someone with an I-thou relation, that's when you look at a person as a full human being, as a human being that has no bounds, and you realize the many different stories in that person. And the I-DAO relation is really cool because where you have a conversation. Okay, I don't know whether you have experienced this before. When you have a conversation that is an intimate conversation with someone, you both don't really like the message that you want to tell the other person doesn't really land in a way that you want it to land, but you go along with it anyway because it is about the space, the person that mattered at that point in time. So the conversation, it's not like a very nice agreement kind of conversation where whatever that you say lands well, whatever that the person say lands well and lands exactly like what you want, how you want it to land. But at the same time, even though it lands differently, you're able to say, oh, never mind, let's pick it up from that thing and move it in a different direction. So it goes on and on and on in a way that you both of you just continue to search because you enjoy each other's presence. Yeah. So that's that I-DAO relationship.
I mean, that's amazing. That's like, instead of judging people right away, you're experiencing everything about them without in a way and enjoying life, making life more colorful.
Yeah.
Because yeah, cool.
And any other books that you want to recommend to our listeners, Darryl?
Let me see. I think Priya Parker's The Art of Gathering was something that got me thinking about quite strongly, because people is quite a big thing in my life. So yeah, Priya Parker talks about the whole idea that, what are meetings for? How do we structure meetings? How do we ensure that everyone gets a voice? How do we ensure that how do we make sure that meetings happen for a purpose? How do we make sure that everyone comes to a certain place and the space becomes transformed through that structure and all of that? So I think because split theater is all about space and about transforming a space into a safe space for each and every one of the person involved, each and every one of the people involved, then it becomes something that is worth thinking about. Talking about safe space, right? I just had a conversation with someone recently, which is the whole idea of a safe space is not it's a journey in and of itself, where we cannot say I just want to create space and it's there. It is every single participant searching for that safe space and understanding that it is my duty to create that, although it is fleeting, because when a space is such a nebulous concept. When we talk about being safe and all of that, it is just the ability to search. Yeah, it is almost the same as the concept of like the I-DAO conversation that I talked about. Yeah, just talked about, which boils down to the whole idea that human beings, we are all about searching, and we continue to search, and we continue to understand the need to search in our relations, in ourselves. That's when we start to keep moving and keep living. Yeah.
This is deep, and I want to keep talking about this stuff, but I'm mindful of your time, and I know we brushed upon it earlier, but we didn't really get to dive that deep. And I know you want to talk about it, and so I'd like to ask about Jerzy Grotowski. So the theater nuts in there might know much about him. Tong and I don't think, I'm speaking with Tong here as well, I don't think we know much about him.
Don't speak for me, man. Don't put words in my mouth. But I also don't know anything about him, so I'd really like to find out.
So we don't know much about him. Can you tell us just briefly what his work is about and how his work has influenced your style?
Wow. Okay. So he has quite a bit of influence from Martin Buber as well, like I and Dao. And his whole idea of theater is stripping theater down all the way to its essence, which is the encounter between two human beings. The whole idea of having a total acceptance in one human being and another. So that's what he was aiming for his work per se in the theater of productions. So basically theater for the stage. And when we talk about the human being, a total acceptance between one human being and another, it's not something that is very very nicely, and it's not a very nice and beautiful harmonious marriage per se, because like the work that I've been doing, which is inspired by him, yeah, it's all about creating your own unique place in society, your whole unique person. So if you think about it, two unique places in society, when we say we come from the same place, it is not possible. And that's why two human beings, a total acceptance of two human beings, is not as harmonious or not as nice as it sounds. It is quite a clumsy way of like putting things also, as what he says in Towards a Poor Theater. In that sense, it is about the ability for two human beings to continue that search in the relation. Is the willingness to accept that, hey, you are totally different and totally unique as a person, as am I, and therefore our conversations would not, yeah, we come from different places, and the willingness to be wholehearted in our relation, and the willingness to really search in our talking, in our dialogue, that's what makes us a human being. So in that sense, it is Grotowski's theater is all about searching. It's all about searching. It's about in the actor being able to perform in a way that I'm searching. I'm not trying to tell you something. I'm trying to just give myself to you wholeheartedly. And I hope that in my willingness to be wholehearted, you can do the same. You'll be inspired to do the same. Maybe not in the theater, but maybe outside where you're inspired to do the same to another person. And that's when the search happens. That's when the whole idea of searching takes place. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting, man. I think that's pretty deep. So I think we're coming to the end of the show, but how can people actually follow your work, and kind of find out more about you?
We have a website, which is splittheater.com. So yeah, split, SPLIT.
You guys are on all social as well?
Yes, on Facebook, at Split Theater, as well as on Instagram.
All right, cool. We're gonna tag.
Do you want to mention the work on the self program that you're doing at the moment?
Oh yes, so the work on the self program is a 10-week program where we kind of use actor training and marry it with self development, where people just come in to learn more about themselves through this training, where we learn how to relate to others and learn more about ourselves, and in relation to others. And through learning about ourselves in relation to others, we start to create our own space in society in that sense. So it sounds very like, how does that happen and all of that? That's for people to find out when they come. But at the same time, it's about we use physical theater techniques to kind of teach the lessons per se, or to share the lessons. The word might be share, to relate the lessons. And then we start to talk, we start to converse, we start to have like conversations that would really help us grow as individuals, as human beings. Yeah. So
it's a journey of self-discovery. Sounds interesting. So that you can just sign up through splittheater.com, right?
Yeah, through splittheater.com. There's a tab, WOTS, Votes, Work on the Self.
We'll put links to all of that, man. Don't worry. So we'll put links so people can access everything.
How else can people find out about your work? Is the website the best place to go?
The website is the best place to go, but the best place to go is really to the program, as well as to the Arts House from the 18th to the 21st of December. Because I'm not just saying this to sell that. It's just, connection is something to be experienced. whenever something is placed online, social media, or website, and all of that, it's difficult. It's difficult to really understand that I-thou relation that we are talking about. Yeah.
It's 10% of the story. So that's Don't Cancel Me, Can Production, or sign up to the Work on the Self program, which is very interesting, especially for entrepreneurs who listen to our podcast, who would love to really go into a journey of self-discovery, right? And to really know why they're doing what they're doing, where they're headed, and to really kind of think about things more clearly.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
And about accepting things about ourselves that we might or might not like. Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
Dave got
listen to
that.
that.
Dave got that really wrong. Dave was just gonna
No,
make
it's
up some
correct.
stuff.
Daryl's politely
Yeah,
correcting me.
yeah. This was. So you were just trying to tell us to be ourselves and to be happy and to never change. Oh, I'm wrong. Oh. No. That was really interesting, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, and as well as telling us more about what you're doing about Split Theatre, about Don't Cancel Me Can, also about your MLM marketing tactics, which
No.
I think is fascinating.
Not
Yeah. And then the
That's-
better money you're sleeping in tonight.
Yeah, that's gonna be the name of the podcast as well. Just then MLM your theater. No. We'll definitely help you guys promote Don't Cancel Me Can, as well as your program as well, your 10 session program. 10 weeks, or is it 10 weeks or 10 session?
10 weeks.
It's 10 weeks.
So your 10-week pro, that's really long. That must be really in depth though. That's so good, man. I mean that in a good way, not in like a really negative way, like that's really long. Because all these programs, like, it's just come for 2 sessions, you change your life. No, you won't.
Yeah,
You really won't.
You can't change your life in 2 minutes. So you gotta,
You
But
gotta
I
take
think-
some time, man.
Yeah. But at the same time, because it goes in depth, we hit values and the identity of people sometimes. Like hit not in a bad way, but in a sense that, hey, we are asking people to ask themselves what they really value and who they really are. And these are questions that might not, like, people might not want to answer, or might still be finding. And that's the part of ourselves that we might want to accept sometimes, like, okay, I don't know who I am. So how? Yeah.
I've got one follow-up question there. Is this 10-week program are you gonna sell them on an MLM package at the end of this? Or I'm joking, man. I'm shitting at you. I'm shitting.
Hey, how's your health? You want to look at these health products? Or how about this frying pan?
Well, don't worry, Darryl. We'll take it out if it sounds too awkward, or just we'll make it look like that's all we spoke about. This will be a really short podcast about MLMs. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. We'll put everything about Darryl, about his upcoming shows, about Split Theatre in our show notes, so anyone can find it really easily. As always, follow us on all social medias at businessoverdrinks.com. We're on most platforms. We'll put everything on our show notes, and as always, like, subscribe, follow us on every single platform, and then you get great content, and help us also get great guests like Darryl.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show, Darryl. And for anyone who's watching us on YouTube, you can tell how passionate Darryl is. When he talks about Split Theatre, his face lights up. So do check Split Theatre out. Check out the links in our show notes at businessoverdrinks.com. So thanks again, Darryl. Hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Just a quick ad break, everyone. Everyone loves books, right? And if you don't love books, you ought to be deported. So now, thanks to Audible, you can listen to an audiobook absolutely free. Who doesn't like free stuff? Sometimes I don't, but typically I like free stuff. All you have to do to claim your free audiobook is go to businessoverdrinks.com/books.
For all those people that don't like free stuff, now I understand why some of y'all didn't sign up for the free website audit and the free PR audit that we offered, but that's fair enough. All right, so just going back to the free book from Audible. So in this page, we've actually compiled a bunch of some of our favorite books and audiobooks that have kind of shaped our lives for better or worse. That's why Audible is my favorite thing, because I can't read. I'm basically illiterate. We're also...
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
there is, but it's
there's
a problem
100% stuff wrong with that. There's a lot of stuff wrong with that, man. We'll be including some of the books that are guests have recommended as well, because we have some really great guests who actually read stuff that added value to their lives versus the stuff that we read, which just lets us pass time and helps us forget about the sadness that is our lives. All right. Dave, so you want to tell people how to do it?
Are you drunk again, Tony?
A
All
little
right,
bit,
so
man.
all you need to do to see these audiobook recommendations, and we've included some physical book recommendations in there too, is go to businessoverdrinks.com/books.